Once destined for top leadership, charismatic, high-flying princeling of Chinese politics and Chongqing's former party chief Bo Xilai now makes up the poster face for being one of the biggest political scandals that China has seen in the last decade. Convicted in charges of bribery, defection, embezzlement, and abuse of power, Bo Xilai is now regarded as one of the fallen tigers, with his case serving as an example of the successes of President Xi Jinping's anti-corruption graft.
The major players involved in the scandal are Wan Lijun, Chongqing police chief under Bo Xilai, who led his anti-mafia crackdown in Chongqing. Ironically, he was also the one who brought Bo Xilai's involvement in the scandal of Hayward's death to light. Patrick Devilliers, a French architect who was linked to Bo and Lou's villa in France, the very same villa that Hayward wanted a share of, which eventually played a factor in his murder. Du Xilai, wife of Bo Xilai, who was involved in the embezzling of large funds to nail Hayward and was later convicted of his murder over reported conflicts of said economic interests.
Bo Guagua, son of Bo Xilai, who, using the connection between his father and Neil Haywood, got admitted into Harrow University. Su Ming, Chinese billionaire who was accused of bribing Bo Xilai in exchange of favors. The bribes were in the form of funds needed to buy the villa in France and education expenses of Bo Guagua. Neil Haywood, ex-graduate of Harrow, who was reported to be the financial middleman of Bo and Gu's illegal financial transactions. His reported blackmail attempts to expose Gu's illegal dealings led to his murder, which formed the heart of Bo Xilai's corruption scandal.
The players involved made up an intricate network facilitating collective corruption, with Bo Xilai at its heart. This complex corrupt network allowed Bo Xilai to abuse his office in return for personal favors, entailing corrupt behaviors such as nepotism, embezzlement, bribe-taking, and coercion. This is in line with the double paradox reading, which suggests that corruption shifted from a largely individualized form of power abuse into what Thorne terms selective corruption, which allowed corrupt officials to pursue greater illegal gains and to reduce risk of exposure by forming protective networks.
One of the key reasons for Bo Xilai's rapid ascent to power is the political influence of his father, Bo Libo. This constitutes as nepotism, which is defined as bestowal of patronage by reasons of ascriptive relationship rather than merit, in defining corruption by John Gardiner.
How Bo Xilai abused his power to prevent an investigation into his wife Du Xilai's involvement in the murder of Hayward showcased how public officials often let their own personal gains come in the way of them performing their civic duties. This is then reflective of the argument about abuse of power put forth by John Gardiner in his defining corruption.
The exchange of favors between Su Ming and Bo Xilai supports Li's argument in Performing Bribery in China, Guanxi practice, corruption with a human face, that it is not the participants of corruption are compelled to conduct because of the existence of the Guanxi practice, but on the contrary, these participants adopt Guanxi practice as an alternative operating mechanism that facilitates corruption.
The timeline of the scandal is as follows. 1980s, Bo Xilai quickly rises in ranks among top political figures using his father Bo Yearbo's influence in the party. 2009, Bo Xilai became the party chief of Chongqing, forming ties with Wan Lijun, the Chongqing police chief, during his anti-organized crime campaign. 2009, Bo Xilai and Du Xilai affiliated with Neil Haywood to get Bo Dudwa into Harrow. February 2012, Wan Lijun is demoted and seeks refuge in the US consulate following alleged assassination attempts by Bo. February 2012, official evidence is submitted implicating the Bo family in the death of Neil Haywood.
March 2012, Bo is dismissed from his position as party chief of Chongqing and replaced by Zhang Dejiang. Ongoing investigation into the case. April 2012, Bo is suspended from the Communist Party, while Gu is handed suspended death sentence. September 2012, Bo is expelled from the party and convicted of multiple charges of corruption. August 2013, trial begins following his indictment. September 2013, sentenced to life imprisonment after rejection of appeal.
that was a pretty amazing video. It covered the timeline, the major actors, and how the corruption network was built. But what do you guys feel about the impact?
There were a lot of polarized opinions around this controversy. A lot of people thought that the only reason Bo Xilai was arrested was because of internal conflicts within the Communist Party. But we think that this actually helped reinforce the trust in the campaign among the public. Because Bo Xilai was in such a high position when he was arrested, a lot of people think that the campaign is a lot more effective now, and it's caused a change in view in the Chinese people's mentality of not only accepting that there's corruption in their community, but also to confront it by complaining against it. Also, this case has an impact of increasing transparency and throwing light into more corruption activities in China.
Having said that, there's still a lot of corruption which is there in China. What do you think are the factors facilitating the corruption for such cases?
So basically, one of the major factors facilitating such types of corruption is that there's a lack of laws and regulations in China. What happens when the laws are vague is that this provides leeway for these officials to be corrupt, and such as this case where the wife was trying to launder money. This would not be the case in other countries with stricter corruption laws. And this also brings us to the separation of powers. If there was a separation of powers, such as an independent judiciary and independent executive body, these problems would not exist. And third of all, there are close affiliations between the party members and the government bodies, such as the police force, such as the chief who was trying to coerce the police officer. And so these are the main factors that facilitate corruption in this case.
So what do you guys think are the solution to such type of corruption in China?
China can adopt an independent judiciary system that's similar to that of Hong Kong, where judges are chosen based on their merit as to how good of lawyers they are. And if it's possible, we would also want that the judges who are chosen, they should not have any political affiliations, so that there is not that conflict of interest. Then this might not really be possible in China, but we feel that rather than punishing high officials, a better way to actually prevent corruption is to bring about institutional changes and implement direct democracy. However, though this might not be possible, we feel that in the long run, should China want to achieve economic free from corruption, it needs to make certain constitutional reforms and implement freedom of speech for media.